I wanted to make this video solely out of an impulsion, and not necessarily because I think the video he created is super convincing. I just find how he goes about things to be quite fun to tackle with. By the way, I don't mean any ill will towards this person whatsoever, because he seems like a cool and genuine guy, just a bit ignorant with some of his points, which I mean no offense by. Okay, I wanted to start the video off by showing some of my aim training clips, because I feel like a lot of this can be explained by just the fact that I've done this stuff in aim trainers before. Now, we can disagree, or you can disagree on the perception of those things of like, oh, maybe your aim and aim trainers are different to in-game. I would vehemently disagree with that sentiment because I feel like my aim is just as snappy and my tracking, despite it looking more consistent in-game, isn't, because you're only versing one target out of a million targets, or like you only have to be on target for like half a second max compared to having to be on target for like a minute straight, which I have to do in one of these aim trainers. And then you can also predict movement in the in game a lot easier than you can do with aim trainers because they move at faster speeds and they divert at faster speeds, that all that sort of thing. Anyway, I just wanted to show some of these clips, and you tell me if you think the speed doesn't match up in my videos with my gameplay compared to my aim trainers. I just wanted to show you a few short clips of that. Alright, that's the end of that. Here is some of my tracking. And I wanted to show some head tracking as well. I wanted to show some head tracking because I feel like a lot of people are suspicious on how I track on heads. Now, I don't think I do it as often as people think, but here's some of my head tracking, and how consistent and smooth it can be. I want to keep in mind that this target is moving a lot faster than people in-game, and that I have to do it a lot more prolonged. So it will look a tiny bit different and a tiny bit more pristine in videos. I just wanted to give that preamble and that context for my video and response. Thank you. I'm going to show his clip and then respond to it. That's just the format of this video.
TV streamer called ConvolkJT. Now, this guy has been known for cheating in the past, and he's honest about that on his YouTube channel. However, he claims that now he does not cheat and he strictly plays properly. However, we have plenty of clips that prove otherwise. So we're going to take a look at them clips today. But before we do, let me say, if you do enjoy this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up.
Alright, so what I wanted to respond to with this is I wanted to make it clear that I do actually like how he portrays at least some aspects, not in the most negative light possible. This is something that I'm not expecting with anyone that accuses me, because I usually am dealing with avid haters and people that are very much like abusive, death threat, doxy, that sort of thing. This person definitely doesn't come off that way, and I like how he portrays certain things. For example, he portrays the fact that I've owned up to my cheating, which is something that a lot of people don't talk about because it gives an air of credibility to what I'm saying that I'm pretty sure a lot of people that accuse me don't want that to be a part of. And I just wanted to at least give him some props in that regard. Here's the next clip, and I'll respond to it afterwards.
Let's go. Oh, suck my cock.
So you could see from that clip that it locks onto the enemy's head. Until the enemy's down, it seems that he doesn't have it, so it locks onto down players. But you can clearly see it locking onto the enemy's head. Let's watch it again now, but in slow motion.
I'm not going to show in slow motion because if you really want, you can see it from that point. in his video. You can just find it yourself. His first point is it locks onto the ads. I like to point out that you have, I think, 5 to 6 clips of me in this video, which seems like a lot of proof of things, but actually isn't. And I know you aren't the person that is creating these clips and such, and you probably haven't watched much of my long-form gameplay yourself, which I don't blame you, but I feel like you should do this in the future if you're going to accuse people. But what you're seeing here is quite cherry-picked. I don't track the person's head of people that often, but I would like to reflect on a point I made where my aim matches up with my aim training videos themselves. Because I can track heads like that in an aim trainer, it's just not super consistent. And the aim itself, in my opinion, is very similar as well. My second point on this is I would be really curious what sort of aimbot or cheat you can have that doesn't aim on down players, because even as someone that's cheated in the past, I don't know about a single cheat that does that. This will be a pattern that I actually have issue with regarding people accusing me, because it creates a vacuum where no matter how legit my aim is or how much proof I have of my aim not matching patterns that aimbots have, you can hand wave it and say that I'm toggling or I have a weird setting or something like that. I'll hopefully try and disprove that part of the argument later, the toggling part of the argument. Again, here's the clip, and I'll respond to it afterwards.
So if you watch his wrist throughout the gameplay as well, it doesn't actually match up fully, not whatsoever, and it's not actually the best quality on the Handcam either. So I think that that's done purposely. However, you can see when it is locking onto enemies throughout that whole gameplay. Let's go on to the next.
Alright, I actually accidentally cut out the clip of this. I just wanted to respond to the point, so you can go to his original video if you want to see the clip itself. It's just me flicking like 5 times and I hit 3 people and then track goes head at the end. I wanted to say, the first point he makes is about my handcam not aligning that well. I would like to reiterate a point, even in a video I've done in the past, which I'll show right now. Alright, so here's the video that I've done in the past that I think gives good context. You can see my hand cam, and it doesn't look like I'm moving whatsoever, but you see how much my cursor is moving. And I think this shows good proof of hand cams and their unreliability. And that bleeds into a point I want to make. This would lead into a point I want to make. Where I feel like I deviate from a lot of people and cheaters with handcams, because I'll say that handcams can actually be super deceiving, and it's not the end all or the be all when it comes to proving or disproving cheats, because micro adjustments and things of that nature won't be picked up, and it can be heavily manipulated. It's just meant to show that the initial flick itself is legitimate, because anything on a small scale then that doesn't get picked up very well. He also talks about how I might blur my camera on purpose. I don't. That's just an autofocus thing. Also, here's a point I really want to make. How am I toggling? Because that's something you talk about in the video, that I'm toggling mid gunfight. But I don't understand how you think I'm doing it. Because I'm showing my mouse and keyboard, and you can see whether or not I'm pressing any abnormal keys. These are somewhat some of my issues with these accusations is a lot of it just falls apart when you start questioning the specifics. The accusations are very much vague ones of like, oh, he's aimbotting, he's cheating, he's doing this, that, the other, and he does provide some details, but I feel like it's masquerading as a detailed accusation, because if you give just slight pushing questions on these things, like, what am I using to toggle? But like, what key? How am I toggling? That sort of thing. It kind of falls under the weight of its scrutiny. Because, like, if you see that I'm only pressing WASD, spacebar, shift, and my mouse buttons, not even my side buttons, because you can see I'm not pressing my side buttons. If you just go through that, it's like, how am I toggling? What key am I pressing? That sort of thing. And you can come up with a fantastical response, like he sort of alludes to in the future, with a foot pedal, but I think that it sounds ridiculous, and I feel like it's pretty easy that it is ridiculous, because those would be very, very obscure cheats that would line up with your foot pedals. And I don't own any foot pedals, just as a side. But yeah. Before we go on to the next thing I talk about, I want to say I do skip some clips and points he makes, but I do that to make this video a bit shorter, and I try to respond to the most quote-unquote sus clips and his explanations behind them, and leave out the less sus ones. I'm not trying to hide from anything by cutting some of his video out. If he thinks I didn't address a point he made and tried to divert away from it, I'll be more than happy to respond to it in a comment if he does reply to this video. Alright, so here's the next clip. It's a bit of a longer one, and I kind of apologize for that, but with the way that he slows down clips and does explanations, I kind of have to put in a full like 2 minutes. So yeah, here's the clip, and I'll respond to it afterwards.
Okay, this is a clip where he actually decides to analyze a clip where somebody's accused him of using AIMBOT, and he says, how can this be AIMBOT? However, we've already mentioned that I believe he's toggling it off and on. So in this instance, I believe that he's missing his shot. He tries to toggle the aimbot on, but instead of hitting the enemy he's originally shooting at, he locks onto the head of an enemy who's behind him and then goes back to the original enemy he was shooting at. But he's claiming that it's not aimbot because of how many shots he missed on the original enemy. Watch the clip now and let me know what you guys think in the comments below.
By the way, I have AIMBOT, apparently. This is my best game ever. Look at that tracking. If they know anything about AIMBOT, they'd lock onto it. So,
So he's claiming that not to be aimbot. However, when he comes down the stairs from this point, locks onto the enemy's head, then he goes for the second enemy, but for some reason, he's decided not to use his aimbot. And I know it seems crazy, okay? But we've already seen that you can toggle it off and on. You can use a foot pedal. You can use your mouse. Any key you want on your keyboard. If you're using controller, you can use any button you want on your controller as well. So this is a bit strange for me. Either that or his aimbot was actually playing up, because he's locked onto the first guy's head and then he sprays and misses loads in this instance. Until then, he's still meant to be shooting at this guy here, but it's locked onto this third enemy's head until he's downed. And then you see it auto snap to this enemy's
by the way, I
head.
have AIMBOT, apparently.
So what?
Okay, so that's the end of that clip. Okay, so the toggling argument is one made here, and again, I'm curious as the same as the last clip. What am I using to toggle? Also, again, this feels like, again, the circular logic that you can't break out of when you say any proof of me not aiming well and bucking the trend of aimbot patterns is me not toggled, but even mid gunfight I am toggling to kill people. If you live in that world, you can make anything fit to your narrative. When talking about cheating, it is more important to look at the consistency of these things and that in relation to how good the player is. For example, Shroud is pretty good. He's not near the best aimers in the world, but the guy is very good. And you will find clips that look sus and a bit unexplainable, but everyone has those clips, and it's just about the frequency of how you get those clips. And the same with me, there are probably 5 to 6 clips that you took that to you look dodgy over 20 hours of a stream. And when you're someone with the pedigree I have of having top aim training scores, etc., you would expect a bit more a tiny bit more consistency regarding those suspicious clips than other players, for example. I'd also want to point out that he says that snap to the guy behind, and I would want to know, since he talks about that he talks as though he has like authority on how cheats work, and my biggest question there is, what sort of aimbot would snap to the person behind in that scenario? Because I'm aiming closer to the person that I was tracking, and he was closer to me as well. And to my knowledge, there's only 2 common aimbot styles, which is FOV and distance. So FOV is anyone that is the closest to your crosshair by FOV, which is just distance, and or distance itself, which is person that is closest to you, like your actual player model. In both those scenarios, the person that I supposedly snapped off of and not locked onto, he was closer to me and he was closer to my crosser as well. So I'm curious how you rectify that as well. Here is the next clip. I'll respond to it afterwards.
first kill seems extremely sus, although he misses a lot of shots. We've already covered that in the past of how it's possible, but he still manages to kill him. But the second enemy who he kills, he doesn't see on the UAV, but he manages to snap directly onto him and kill him. Watch this.
Oh. That was dirty. That was dirty too.
Okay. How did he know that guy was there in this window? Let's watch it again in slow motion.
Alright, so I don't think we need to watch it in slow motion. I would say that this video is this clip is widely out of context since it was a while ago. I'm not 100% sure what sort of info I had, but I did have info of the guy in the window. I know of that for certain because this is a good clip, so I remember it, but I don't necessarily remember the info that I necessarily had. Either it be him shooting before or something else, making me believe that he was in that window. I know this is a bit weak because you'll have to take my word for it, but I'm just a bit too lazy to dig up every stream of mine and go through them. To find the specific clip and the context to it. That will just take too much effort to find it. But I had the context of him being in that window beforehand. Also, this is an issue of just taking clips from people, especially when it comes to accusations, because the people that will send you these sort of videos don't really care about honesty. They will just care about the end result of smearing my name, and they don't care about the methods of which they go through to do so. So they will clip out of context things on purpose to make me look worse. And this is a prime example, because if you just had the context of that clip, you would know that I knew that person was in the window. And this clip you're talking about and your response to it really rests on my aimbot locking onto someone that I had no info of, and I did have info, so yeah. Here's my next clip. It is a bit longer, so bear with me.
So in this clip, you will see the enemy who is stood on top of the garages jump off to the left. His aim tracks perfectly to the head until the enemy's down, but you'll see a little bit of a glitch in the situation as well, which is extremely suspicious in my opinion. Let's watch it now. You might not see much in that. We're going to go back. We're going to slow it down. Other than when the enemy actually jumped to the left, you can see that his aimbot struggled to keep up with the speed of the enemy, and it sort of slowed and then magnetized itself straight back to the head, causing the extra snap effect. So although he was already shooting directly at the enemy on top of the garage, as he's jumped off, faster than the aimbot can keep up, probably to do with the aim speed or smoothness, it snaps onto the head right at the last second, and you see it clear as day, especially when it's slowed down like that. Again,
alright, I'll breeze past this clip because I feel like it isn't a strong point of his, but I wanted to show it as proof that you can come up with pretty fantastical points to try and make up a large body of quote-unquote evidence for the narrative that I aimbot. In the video, you have to bring up, well, maybe the aimbot wasn't working for half of it, for it to even resemble, or maybe resemble close to a point of this being sus. That's an issue, because how likely is it for an aimbot to just stop working mid-gunfight? Probably not often, especially in regards to what you would probably assume to be high-quality cheats that I'm using, since I'm a streamer and these are stream-proof. Yeah.
well, there we have it, guys. ConvolkJT is still snapping onto people all over the place. Although he claims that he's cheated in the past and he doesn't anymore, the guy is still an avid cheater. Even though he's got his monitor on show on his webcam, you can clearly see that he's snapping onto people. Having a monitor cam does not prove that you are using aimbot or not. It can only determine whether or not the guy is using wall hacks, which we cannot see from any of the footage on his webcam. If you've enjoyed the video, guys,
Alright, so here's one of the points I wanted to respond to. I wanted to respond to this part because it's actually something I quite admire, and I feel it shows at least some level of genuineness towards this person's videos. You at least grant me the point that I don't use wall hacks, because I've proven time and time again that I don't with monitor cams, which is something I'm a tiny bit grateful for, because that is a level of charitability that not really anyone gives me. So I thank you for that. It just shows you to be not unhinged like the other people that create videos on me. Anyway, overall the video I think is very entertaining, because I enjoy this sort of content and responding to it because it gives me a good laugh, but I don't hate the dude, because I think He's at least genuine in his actions, despite being quite misguided, in my opinion. I hope I laid out why that is the case, of why he's misguided, in this video. Thank you for watching. This is a point that I quickly want to make before we go into the video. I don't know why I want to help you with your videos, but here's two things I want to tell you. So one thing is, you were showing clips in slow motion in your video about me, and you put way too much time in there. You could cut that down because we've already seen the clip. So you could cut that down to just the sus part, or just like a second before the sus part. But you showed the full 15-second clip in slow motion, which just puts too much time and it's a bit boring to watch. So if you want to make your videos more entertaining, bad boy Beaman, then that's what you can do. Also, my second point is, you go over a default video and you go over how his aim in this is aim lockish. His aim lock is aim lockish. I want to point out that if someone has a low sense, sorry about that. If someone has a low sense, like default, because he has a fucking stupidly low sense, it will look more like aimbot when he snaps onto someone, because you have better stopping power and there's less of a chance of an overflick. So someone like default will have more aimbotty aim when it comes to stopping power compared to someone like myself. You'll see someone snap with high sense and it will just look a lot different to someone with low sense. Just wanted to tell you that, bad boy.